Honorable Deputy Speaker, on the 31st of July, in my capacity as the President of the African National Congress, I announced that the ANC would propose an amendment to the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa that could provide greater clarity on the circumstances under which expropriation without compensation can be effected. The proposal is informed, among other things, by the views of our people that have been expressed in the public hearings that have been taking place, and also by members of the African National Congress. It is based on an understanding that the Constitution, as it currently stands, does allow for expropriation without compensation in certain circumstances. The proposal is intended to make explicit what is currently implicit in the Constitution. This announcement does not undermine, nor does it preempt the outcome of the public consultation process that is currently underway. Much like the pronouncements of other political parties, including pronouncements by the Honorable Leader of the Opposition, this position will guide the contribution of its members in the parliamentary process. Once Parliament has adopted a position on this matter, it will become government's responsibility to implement. As I indicated during the 2018 State of the Nation address, government is determined that land reform should be implemented in a way that increases agricultural production, improves food security, and ensures that the land is returned to those from whom it was taken under colonialism and apartheid. I have appointed an interministerial committee on land reform led by the Deputy President, which has been tasked with coordinating measures to accelerate the redistribution of land, the extension of security, of tenure, the provision of agricultural support, and the redress of spatial inequality. In essence, when we look at our Constitution, we see a document and an instrument that is transformational in nature and that is also empowering in its content. And this process that we have started should take place within a broad and comprehensive land redistribution and agricultural development program. The acceleration of land redistribution is necessary not only to redress a grave historical injustice, but also to bring more producers into the agricultural sector and to make more land available for cultivation. In dealing with just and equitable compensation in the case of expropriation, for example, Section 25 calls for an equitable balance between the public interests and those affected. It lists amongst the relevant circumstances that need to be considered in deciding on such a balance, such things as the history of acquisition of the property, its current use, and the extent of direct state investment in the property. The late Andre van der Walt, one of South Africa's leading constitutional scholars, has argued that Section 25(3) makes non-compensation permissible in appropriate circumstances. Furthermore, Section 25(8) of the Property Clause in our Constitution explicitly states, "No provision of this section may impede the state from taking legislative and other measures to achieve land, water, and related reform in order to redress the results of past racial discrimination." The intention of the proposed amendment, in the end, let it be understood, is to strengthen the property rights of all South Africans and to reinforce the transformative nature of our Constitution. It gives greater force to the requirement in the Bill of Rights which says the state must take reasonable legislative and measures within its available resources to foster conditions that enable citizens to gain access to land on an equitable basis. It will provide certainty to those who own land, to those who need land, and to those who are considering investing in our community. Many people on hearing the proposal that was made said, "We are grateful that at last we can now have certainty of how this whole debate on land is going to play out." Many people have said being involved in this debate without greater clarity of where it will end has been debilitating. We now know what the outcome could well be. Now, this debate has unleashed what I would call a wonderful process in our country where many people, writers, commentators, ordinary people, politicians, business people, and you name them, have had the opportunity for the first time in a very long time to engage in a meaningful debate on an issue that affects many people in our country. The question of land, as I've said before, is not going to go away. The question of land was an issue when the ANC was formed in 1912, and it has stayed with us since 1912, and we can thank the young people in our country. The ANC Youth League were the first to really advocate for this issue of land, and today we are debating the issue and we are having meaningful debates. And these debates, in the end, must be underpinned by a number of considerations. The first consideration must be we must transform our land or property ownership in our country. That goes without saying. We've got to do it. We've got to embrace this process that is underway. The second issue is that we must develop. It must be underpinned by development. We must, as we embrace it, ensure that it's going to lead to increased agricultural production and it is going to inject growth in our economy. And the third one is that we must do it in a way as to enhance stability in our country. So those three issues are key as we proceed with this. But I'd like to say that those who have been terrified and afraid should now know that this matter is beginning to sink in the minds and the consciousness of South Africans. Yesterday, I had occasion yesterday to meet the leadership of Agri-SA, and I was pleasantly surprised to hear them say, we acknowledge that colonialism was really bad for land ownership in our country. Apartheid was really terrible for land ownership in our country. And the 1913 Land Act was a really bad intervention in our country. And they say, we want to correct the injustices of the past. We'd like to work with you to find ways in which we can correct the injustices of the past, meaning that they have embraced the fact that we now have to move forward with the land question. They have embraced the fact that, yes, there is going to be change in the way that land is owned in our country. So those who would have wanted to resist are now coming to terms with the fact that we've got to change. And change we are going to, because our people want the wound that was inflicted on them to be healed. And the only way we can heal this wound is to transform our land ownership. And that is going to ensure that we have stability in our country, that we can move forward with greater stability in our economy, and we can move forward with our nation-building processes. So, fellow South Africans, that is where we have to go. We should no longer be afraid of this process of having to change the land ownership architecture in our country. It is here, and it is here to stay. It is going to happen. Thank you very much.
Honorable Malema. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ndat.
Thank you, Ndat. Mr. President, I think you and I agree with you that land ownership patterns in this country must change. That's a good thing. And I want to thank the authors of our Constitution who foresaw Venezuela, who foresaw that, and put Section 25 into the Constitution. It is those South Africans who did a duty, and that's our position. And President Motlanthe is absolutely correct when he says, actually, the reason why there's a problem with land reform is the fact that there's corruption, there's an incapable state, and there's a lack of political will to achieve what the ambitions of the Constitution are. Now, you said to me, I must give you suggestions. Here is one. Your government already owns Wingfield, Youngsfield, and Kulenburg here in Cape Town. This discussion is about urban land ownership. If you are seriously committed to this process, within the current constitution, no need for change, you would release this land as we've asked you since 2006. You will hand over these pieces of land so that we can ensure that South Africans who want to live closer to the city can get housing so that they can get to places of work. Can I ask you, will you commit, will you commit in this house to release these large pieces of land so that we can build hundreds of thousands of houses closer to the city for South Africans who have been left behind, which are already in your hands within the Constitution, so we can give title to South Africans who are left out? Thank you very much.
President.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Honorable Maimani is saying we should release the land, and I informed him that the government Lekgotla, the cabinet Lekgotla, decided that we should immediately embark on a rapid release of land. And we are not worried about releasing land. Clearly, I'm not au fait with the pieces of land that he's talking about, and would like to examine that, because the process that is now going to have to take place is that we obviously are going to be categorizing pieces of land throughout the country. That is what we are going to do. And as we do that, the one thing that is going to be driving what we have to do is how best we can advance the interests of our people. That is the most important thing. And I'm glad that in the end, Honorable Maimani is recognizing that the issue of giving land to our people now has to move ahead. It has to happen. And as it happens, we are going to make sure that it is properly managed, it is properly directed, and so that we can improve the lives of our people. This historical injustice must be brought to an end. And I'm glad that you join us in making sure that this can happen. Thank you very much, Mr. Maimane.
Yes, now, Honorable Malema.
Thanks very much, Deputy Speaker and President. What is more comforting is that when people talk about the people who wrote the Constitution, as if those people are dead, forgetting that they are talking to one of them, and who knows that it can be amended, that Constitution. When he wrote it, included in that Constitution, an amendment of the same Constitution. But if you came late to politics, you may not know that you are talking to a person who wrote the Constitution. and you talk to him in past tense as if he's no longer there. Now, President, mine is slightly different. In the EFF, we believe that the state must own the land, the whole land, including Hot Bay and Camps Bay, must be owned by the state. Because this thing of title deeds,
Honorable
President,
Malema, your time. Please ask your question.
this thing of title deeds, Mr. President,
Honorable-
it's a setup. They want you to give our people title deeds, knowing very well that our people are poor. They will sell the land back to them. And the narrative that they stole
time
the
is
land
expired.
will go away. Do you agree
No.
that the state must be the owner of the land?
Mr. President.
No, Honorable Maimane, I think you and I agree that land must be given to our people. And that's what you and I agree on. And I know that one of the things that's driving you to say that the state must own all the land is this fear that you have that our people will be driven to start selling the land. And that is precisely one of the things that many people said, that, you know, you give black people title deeds, they will soon sell the land or the houses, and they will remain poor. That is a false fear, I'm afraid, because our people who have had title deeds and who are currently being given title deeds become so proud that finally in the end they own something that they can show and demonstrate with their hands. So, Honorable Maimane, I think we should not rob.
Orders, Deputy Speaker.
Untshwarele moo.
Yes, Honorable Member. What are you doing?
You are calling me with the wrong names, man.
You can't
Untshwarele.
all speak.
No, untshwarele. Aw. Nka etsa mistake e kgolo-kgolo ke compare CIC le Ntate Maimane awa. So I think we should not rob our people from this deep yearning and quest to want to own their pieces of land. Right now, Honorable Malema, right now we're going through a particular process in our country, because with the recent land reform process that we embarked on, our rural development department started buying a number of pieces of land and then leasing them out to our people and say, you can take it on lease. Now, the experience that we've got is that many of those people are finding sometimes it difficult to get loans because the banks say, you don't own this piece of land. We can't give you a loan on the basis of a lease. And some of them are coming forward and saying, we want to own, we want to have a sense of ownership of the land that you're distributing to us. So I think my own view is that rather than frustrate this deep quest that our people have about, yes, owning the land, we should not frustrate them by saying you cannot own, this land is now going to be owned by the state. we should allow our people to own the land. And I'm quite happy that we sit down and debate this issue, because the architecture of our land reform must be such that it is empowering to our people. It must lead to transformation, and it must get our people have a sense that they can identify with the land that is now going to be put in their hands. And as we do so, we must obviously take a number of issues into consideration. What you are suggesting was done for the mineral rights of our country, when the government said all the mineral rights are owned by the government. There were a number of people who protested and even took the government to court. But that was a different set of circumstances. In this regard, ordinary people want to have a sense of ownership of a piece of land. And some of them, particularly those whose land was taken away from, want a restoration of the land that was taken from them. So you and I have a lot to talk about, and we can debate this matter. But what is pleasing is that there's growing agreement amongst all of us that the release of land, the transformation that must take place in relation to land, and the expropriation of land is now becoming more and more accepted. We now need to move forward. And moving forward is going to mean that we deal with the categorization of the pieces of land that needs to be given to our people, so that it can drive economic growth, it can drive agricultural production, and ensure that there is food security. I think that that's where the debate must now revolve around, because we should no longer be trapped in the argument that no, you should not move ahead with land reform by utilizing expropriation without compensation as one of the measures. We now need to move ahead, yes, distribute government land and identify a number of pieces of land. And let me say, one of the issues that are coming up is that a number of companies are coming forward, and they are saying to us, Mr. President, we have no business to be owning land. We have large tracts of land that can be parceled out to our people. Our quest is that we should continue doing business, and we want to be in partnership with our people. So a number of solutions and options are being opted for, and those are what we should now be focusing attention on. It was pleasing for me to be hearing people who have been opposing this prospect coming forward and saying we have solutions. And the other pleasing thing is that there are black farmers organizations who are now united together with white farmers organizations who say they want to sit down and come out with a land reform architecture which they can put to government and out to the public. So we are onto something that can lead to really positive results. So I would like all of us as South Africans to move away from this fear psychosis that's been going around, particularly those who are going around and spreading lies and rumors, like organizations like AfriForum running overseas and saying the ANC is out for a land grab. There is no such thing. The ANC wants to make sure that there is land reform that is going to lead to the growth of our economy. The ANC wants to make sure that there will be increased agricultural production and food security. And if we embrace that type of approach, we are going to solve this problem and restore the dignity of our people by giving them the land that they should have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable Nkomo.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. It's Honorable Shengwa who will be speaking on my behalf. Thank you.
Okay. Honorable Shengwa,
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker, and our
you must
apologies.
alert us in advance when that mistake happens. Don't wait.
Siyaxolisa Sekela Somlimo, ngeke kuphinde kwenzeke. Honorable President, here's the problem. I would want to believe that your announcement in the late hours of the night, which was a feature of the past, was a knee-jerk reaction to some sort of pressure from somewhere.
It wasn't.
And you made it in the absence of a plan. You made it in the absence of fully taking into account the ramifications of what you were saying and also preempting the parliamentary process. And I'll tell you why I say that, Mr. President. A leader who speaks from both sides of his mouth is very dangerous. On the basis that on who you are speaking to, then you take a position. You spoke to the Afrikaner and you said there will be no changes to the constitution. And then there will be a change. So the question is, how can we trust such a delicate matter when we do not know where you fundamentally stand? And I put it to you, Mr. President, that as the chief author of the Constitution with your colleague, Mr. Rolf Meyer, before you move to the amendment of the Constitution, tell us, how did Section 25, which you wrote, fail? Take us into your confidence. Where did it fail that we arrive at this point in time, so that we have a better appreciation of the position that you are saying now? Because we all want land,
time is
but
expired.
we want under leadership we can trust and is honest to the facts.
Honorable President.
No, thank you very much, Honorable Hlengwa. Honorable Hlengwa, the announcement was made, yes, in the evening. It was not midnight, as some people have sought to suggest. And it was in the early part of the evening. And just as I said earlier, I made the announcement as President of the African National Congress. Just as any leader of parties that are here have been able to speak about this issue, but the ANC, being the majority party, has all the rights to put its position forward, to give leadership to the country about what needs to be done. And that's precisely what we have done. You may not like it, you may not like the fact that it was done in the evening, but it is what it is. The ANC has spoken on this matter, and the ANC has also said it is going to manage this matter as well as it should be managed. The second issue is Section 25 makes it quite clear that expropriation is a process that can be embarked upon. And you may well have a point in saying that we have not utilized it to good effect as well as it should have been used. Now, we embarked on a process. We embarked on a process of seeking to effect land reform in our country through going through the length and the breadth of the country, buying up land. And the budget that we had was never going to be enough. In fact, if you really want to know, if we were to follow that measure, because we have a number of measures that we can follow, if we were going to follow that measure alone, it would easily take us 75 years or 100 years before we achieve the objective that we seek. Now, what would it cost us? It would cost us easily more than 500 billion rand, 750 billion rand, money that we do not have. At the same time, we are facing a demand from our people, and this is what the ANC has had to respond to. Faced with the demand from our people, the deep quest for land amongst our people, it was decided that we now need to speed up the land reform process, and we should have, as one of the measures that can be utilized, expropriation without compensation, which is implicit in the Constitution. It is implicit. We can utilize this measure. We are now going to say, our people say, make it very clear make it explicit by effecting an amendment to the Constitution, because it is implicit. It's not like we're doing something that's completely new and strange. Right now, we are able to expropriate without compensation. We want to make it clear so that we are able to say with greater clarity, it is one of the measures we can use, and we can use a whole range of other measures as well. So, Honorable Klengwa, we are not speaking from both sides of the mouth. We are speaking about a reality that exists, and this is what the Constitution of our country does implicitly enable us to do. And yes, indeed, it is a proposal from the African National Congress. The parliamentary process will continue, and as it reaches its fruition, the ANC will put forward this proposal. It will be debated. It will come back here, and we will discuss it, and the rest will then outflow. So, fear not, Honorable Klengwa. This process is going to be as transparent as possible. And in fact, what we have said to the rest of our people is that come forward with your proposals. Many people have said, now there is certainty of where we are going. We are now able to make proposals on something that we can see where it is leading to. So I would like everyone here, including people outside, to come forward with proposals. And as I say, I am filled with deep gratitude that many of our people have been participating in all these discussions. And to us as the ANC, it's become very clear, very, very clear what our people are saying, and that is precisely what we are responding to. But we are also saying, let the process unfold, unabated, and we will then see how, in the end, the members of this House deal with the proposals that will have been put together. That's what we are saying. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable members, we move to the...
Deputy Speaker, sorry.
Oh, this Groenewald here, sorry.
Deputy Speaker, before Honorable Groenewald takes to the
Yes,
podium,
what are you raising
I
on?
have to express this concern. I'm serious this time around. I'm not joking. Look, Deputy Speaker, Deputy Speaker, the issue is here. I wrote to your office in particular, and I asked that we build some transparency into the follow-up question system here.
No,
later, please.
Honorable
please.
member, no.
I'm not sitting down.
Honorable member,
I'm not
we
sitting
have-
down.
Honorable member,
I need to make my point, Tata.
Honorable member.
You can't continue doing this thing.
No.
You said 2 minutes of 70 discretion, but we've been pressing here like complete fools. And what do you expect me to say?
Honorable member, can
The
we
last
advise
time, Deputy Speaker, can you allow me to finish, please?
Honorable member,
Can I make my point, please? Unphazamsa call when I stand up here.
Honorable member, in the
No,
first place, you
Tata,
have said yourself you've written to me
No,
in particular.
Tata, ndicela uthetha lento uyaziyo. I wrote a letter to you expressing our concern and dissatisfaction as the party about this follow-up question system here in Parliament, where there is no transparency. We have no way of saying who's next. You said in response to that letter I wrote to you on behalf of the UDM, you said...
Honorable
you don't
member,
want- can I finish
request
my
you
point,
to
please?
finish? No, man.
No, but
You are-
Deputy Speaker, the last time I got an opportunity to ask the President a question was when he was still a Deputy President, and yet I've been pressing all the time. Do you think it's fair?
Honorable member, please sit down, man. This matter has been dealt with before.
No, but
it will
this
be
is a
dealt with
matter.
again in the House.
No, but you're not using the same discretion you
Your
said in
name is
letter
not
you are
here.
using. It was. General's name was there. I was there. I saw it.
Honorable member, please, man.
Yes, Mamela.
Can we come back to you? We've written to you.
File, just as drop.
We've responded to you. Take your seat. Take your seat. We will respond to you again. The Rules Committee received a considered response on this matter, and we circulated it to you and to other members who were here who raised similar questions. Honorable Groenewald, please go on.
Dankie. Dankie, achtbare.
Order, honorable members, order. Allow Honorable Groenewald to proceed, please.
Dankie, achtbare Adjunct Speaker. Honorable President, I want to start by saying to you that I differ on your views. I don't think, and I'm sure that expropriation without compensation is not going to speed up the whole land reform issue. And I also want to say that you yourself, in your answers today, have mentioned that investors want certainty when it comes to land. But I want to say to you, the people who really want certainty are the landowners of South Africa. They want the certainty of their land. And I know that you're a very good negotiator, and everybody knows that you have mesmerized the Rolf Meyer, and I suppose you have mesmerized some agricultural leaders also. But I have a message to you also today, Honorable President.
Honorable members, why do you ignore the time allocated to you? I'm afraid your time
No,
is...
no, Chairperson, no. I was interrupted all the time. I'll round up. Agbare president, daar is ook 'n boodskap van ander boere. En dis 'n ernstige boodskap. Met respek gesê, die boere se boodskap is, hulle sal nie vrywillig afstand doen van hulle grond.
Honorable member, your time is
Dit
gone.
moet u ook verreken.
Your time is gone now. Honorable members, order. Don't do that to that member. He has a right to express his opinion. No, you can't. You can't. You want your views to be protected, to be said in the House. He has that right. Honorable members, please, your language. Honorable member, what are you raising on?
Deputy Speaker, that man just threatened that they are not going to give off willingly. He just threatened that.
Honorable
that
member,
Afrikaners, that Boera will not give off willingly.
Honorable
and you
member,
allow this.
No. You should have in the first place rose to say that. Not to talk to the person in the way in which you did. There should be order in how we handle our differences. Honorable
Deputy
members,
Speaker.
please, let's proceed with this matter.
We're not fighting. We're just telling him that we're not scared of him.
No.
And the people
Honorable
he's talking
Malema,
about.
no. Honorable President.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, ek wil net sê, wat ons moet doen in hierdie land, ons moet sorg dat ons het transformasie. Ons moet ook sorg dat ons het ontwikkeling. En ons moet ook sorg dat ons het stabiliteit. Hierdie drie dinge is baie belangrik. As ons wil hê dat Suid-Afrika moet voorgaan. Nou, as ons nie transformasie hê nie, sal ons nie stabiliteit hê nie. Now, we have to balance all these things. Unless we have land redistribution in our country, we will not have stability. Those who say we want to hold on to our land, they may find that they hold on to something that does not exist anymore. So we must, as leaders, ensure that we transform, and transformation must mean that we have redistribution of land, because there is a historical injustice that was committed many years ago. The wound continues to fester. We must at the same time have development. Now, this is where we can all work together, and that is why, Honorable Member, I had great joy in talking to the agricultural organizations who said, we want to make sure that through the land redistribution process, there is development. We develop black farmers and make them successful, and we also distribute land where our people can live. And the important thing that we should all focus on is stability. Now, you can make your choice. If you don't want stability, then don't transform. But if you want stability, then we must transform. and we must therefore work together to make sure that the transformation process leads to development, which will finally give us the dividend of stability. That is precisely the equation that is at play here. Dit is transformasie, dit is ontwikkeling, en dit is ook stabiliteit. As ons oë op hierdie 3 dinge bywoog, we are going to make sure that our country succeeds. And hence I'm saying that we should not be afraid. Even the landowners must not be afraid to embrace this process. Now you say the landowners want certainty. I can tell you that those who do not have land also want certainty. It is the people who are hungry for land who want certainty from the government. And at the same time, the government must balance both so that we have a win-win type of outcome. That is what I aim to see happens in our country. Thank you very much.
Thank you.